Real Madrid has had a terrible season, where it hasn't won anything relevant to the club, so this time I'm going to embark on a quest to return it to greatness and win a double set with the utmost difficulty and without spending any money. Well, we started by flying to Madrid and we found ourselves with a problem. They made an offer for Rodrigo, who wanted to leave the club because he felt undervalued, so I decided to sell him to our biggest rival. This is something the club needs. Sometimes you have to make sacrifices to win. We'll get rid of several players who haven't performed, like Lucas Vázquez, the so-called successor to Sergio Ramos Asensio, among many players who are no longer in the plans. Now let's move on to the reinforcements. Since we have little money, I had to think very carefully about this season, which is crucial to maintaining the project, although I certainly aim to have the best results in the coming seasons. So I signed several young prospects that I excel at, as well as some players that you probably don't know, but these will be key in the process that we will carry out. Confan Champs Masters, if you have seen the guides you will know why. This is what our renewed squad looks like. I have maintained a certain base of what the team already had, adding some familiar faces that are returning to the club. I also improved the basic forces, because if the millionaire signings do not pay off, we will build our own players. And we started a friendly against Las Tomias that we came back from. The lineup seems to be successful, but as you can see, we will start most of the games losing, something that is repeated in the European Super Cup, which becomes our first title won, which is true, so we cannot get ahead of ourselves. We invested the money wisely in improving our training, because we want to have our players in the best condition. And now it's time to play the Spanish Super Cup, in which we easily reached the final against Athletic Club de Bilbao, who we also beat at the last moment. Real Madrid is returning to comebacks, but we are still at the start of the season, where things could get much more complicated than expected. And our 2 titles are not enough to make us the best club aiming for 7 titles. We made our league debut with a sad draw that took us by surprise, and the following match was compounded by a draw. The game system didn't seem to be working very well, but with a slight adjustment we got the team going and the positive results started to come, making us an unstoppable goal-scoring machine. Just what we expected from our club, which has managed to score goals in several league matches, making up for lost ground after a poor start, trying to get closer to the top 1, which was getting closer and closer, and so on until, finally, we had to face this team, which is none other than Barcelona. I'm preparing a team that is tired of scoring goals. The good run continues and this match could help us consolidate our place at the top, or so we thought until we saw the start. Rodrigo, our former goalkeeper, would face us and would not hold back. The match started strongly with an attack from the Catalan team, but our defense managed to do it, but unfortunately the goal would fall to Dani Olmo and he would continue to shoot at the goal of the white team, even going into the second half. But fortunately our goalkeeper would make key saves. The defense would also be strong to avoid the constant attacks of the rival, who did not let us breathe for a second. And finally our first clear chance would come from Carvajal, but Hendrick was easily blocked. Kola and Palmer would start another play with clear passes, but he would miss again. The Brazilian player is missing all against Barcelona who attack again, but we defend well to get away and unfortunately with this the match ends with a narrow loss. The defeat makes the local newspapers and the fans already fear the worst, but we shake off the dust and return to the battle. But the defeat takes its toll on our mentality, drawing against the Yellow Submarine. And Vinicius, suspiciously, is injured in training against a very important rival. Even so, we managed to hold our own with a draw, and then the Champions League draw took place, in which fortunately we have a relatively easy group, so we aim to qualify directly and regain our confidence with a masterful performance in our Champions League debut, which also looks upbeat in the league, in which we once again obtain positive results along the way, but we lose again against Atalanta, who take advantage of Jude Bellingham's sending off and, unfortunately, we are eliminated from the cup against Almeria. This season has yet another setback, but if we remember the beginning, this is a process and we are going to be confident. Don't get off the wagon, because here we are all a team. That bucket of cold water made our players take more seriously the idea of playing for a club with a long history and fans all over the world. Although sometimes that spirit ended with players exhausted by fatigue, our squad was not as complete as we would have liked, but it was a necessary investment if we wanted to improve the club that was lagging behind in a replacement that was not up to par. But even so, we made good updates and finally the transfer market opened again, but unfortunately the only important offer was for Bukayo, who had been very important for the team. So it would be time to leave the squad as it is because he is a player that we do not want to lose at the moment. So the season continues where Real Madrid takes revenge on Arsenal by winning by the minimum with a goal from Vinicius Jr. and then fixes the team due to the suspension of Sergio Ramos, who has been like one of his best years. We go against Real Sociedad, Real Valladolid and Celtic, with great performances in each of the games, to the point that Real Sociedad offers us work. And, despite the fact that it would be an interesting challenge to try to win something with Real Sociedad, we remain focused on winning everything, but that would not mean we would neglect this season, rejecting the offer and returning to our competitions, where we realize that we do not have a top scorer or assist maker. In other words, we do not have a star in the team, which can be good or very bad, depending on how you understand the sport. We fixed the team to continue with the season, which has not gone so badly. The cup does not matter, because we are still alive in the other competitions, but we still have not closed the gap in the league. But the team will not give up and, making some slight adjustments, we humiliated Getafe and began to climb in the league, where our system already allows us to advance without worries, until Mallorca draws us again. For some reason in the league the results are like roulette. Fortunately, the Champions League is once again our safe place and we win with little effort, but half the team is suspended. But I will solve it again. The squad will be in a process of replacement. We still managed to hold on with a few mistakes in between, but the battle for the title is finally starting again, the Spanish Classic. So I'm getting the team ready and I'll play to try to save the result. Let's hope it's a good idea, but Barcelona with Grimaldo manages to open the scoring and we waste a good chance. Even so, Mbappe manages to reduce the deficit with an individual play. We find ourselves at a disadvantage again. This match could be decisive in winning the league. We can't lose. I make a tactical change to see if we can create better chances, but again we are disallowed and we miss important shots. Time is running out. Will we be able to turn this match around? Find out in the next episode of this series. Spoiler alert.